Trump has come right out of the.
Welcome back to another episode of Contramundum. We are talking about
said, hey,
chapter 3 of Against Christianity.
Chapter
this
2.
time.
Really
No,
not
chapter
even
2.
a maximalist
It's
position.
Part 3, chapter 2, Against Theology. Andrew is 3 for 3 on interrupting my intros. Welcome to Contramundum.
So whereas
I'm right.
I think there is another camp within the
The American Revolution, in other words, is never finished. It must always be renewed.
Greater love than this hath no man, than that he lay down his life for his friend.
What if it's not envy?
We must take back our cities, and take back our culture, and take back our country. God bless you, and God bless America.
you reset a financial.
Yeah, I'm just getting an important alert.
rules,
Our sound
there
is
is
way
gonna be
off here.
collateral damage
Sound is all
because
jacked
people
up.
out of working out of
So
their
we're
own,
gonna. Gary is back. He's
self-interest.
back behind the controls.
You can
set
tell
up
because it's
entire-
down.
no,
Oh, wow.
no, we can actually have somebody fix it. Is what
Oh,
I'm saying.
Ways
So
of
go
life,
ahead,
ways of
Gary.
making a living
We'll find.
around
Let us
whatever
know if the
system
sound
is.
sounds
Yeah.
better.
So this time we're actually talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
what the title says. we're talking about.
I think
Yeah, last
that's
week I jumped the
it,
gun.
which is
I
probably,
said-
and by the way, I wouldn't agree with his life
We're gonna do
choices,
chapter
but
2
man,
against
he's
theology,
been
forgetting that we had
in my
like
opinion,
Well, you
been
also
fantastic.
said
more than a
He's
third of
easily
Yeah,
chapter
you
the
one
also said
left.
we're going to finish
and
chapter
most,
1 and
market
go into chapter
savvy
I only thought we had a
Treasury
little bit left.
Secretary we've
I
had.
It's like,
and like the
my
little
dude.
bit was stuff that like we really need to talk about.
have I
he's
ever
been
stuck around longer than
fantastic.
half an hour? No.
No, I don't think so. All right, well, where are we at here, my man?
Well, we haven't talked about current events in a while.
Do you
Usually-
want to? Do you want
usually you
to?
ask me,
Yeah,
about
what's going
something.
on in the world?
do you even know anymore?
Nope.
It's nothing we're talking about. It's
I
just the
heard
same
that.
old
I mean, what's the deal? Somebody sent me something about Trump withholding like disaster funds. You fixed it? Way to go, Gary. More beef biltong for Gary. And dog treats. All right. But no, that like Trump withholding disaster relief money from any municipality that does BDS.
I heard
Was that real?
Yeah, I heard they backtracked on it though because of the chimp outs.
Well, yeah, I mean that's insane.
Yeah.
And I don't even say this as like as somebody who's like, oh, I really don't like Israel or whatever. It's that like this is I can hear you can turn that off, Gary, because I keep hearing myself 3 second delay, like I'm gonna say some curse words or something, but no, like the withholding disaster funds from
Yeah,
anybody on behalf of a foreign country.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. That is sick.
Was that real?
I don't know. I mean, I heard something like it was some staffer that like snuck it in, in some executive order, like, oh, we're gonna sneak this right in here.
It was like states that boycott Israel, right?
yeah, like that refused to
I don't even know what that
invest their
means.
pension funds in Israeli
Oh.
companies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like that, I mean, because think about that, like a tornado hits a city and it's some city ruled by libs and you're living there, right? You didn't vote for any of these people. You're not, you're just living your life and you're ruled by these like insane ideologues. Like, and that's the other thing is like the BDS stuff. Like these are people that hate us, right? Like absolutely hate us. So it's not like they're not friendly to anything we like. Like they would throw us in a mass grave just for the sake of like not just wanting our children's genitals to remain intact. Like that's what these people are like. And so these are not friends, right? By any means. But withholding disaster aid to people in those municipalities, right? That's
dumb. Yeah.
so disgusting.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad to hear that they
That's what I heard. That's the
backtracked
real
on
one.
that.
Gary can correct me if I'm wrong.
So anyway, any other current events you want to discuss, Mr.
Is
Mr.
it
Engel?
true that they backtracked on it? Oh, well, you should Google
Look that
it.
up. Look that up, Gary.
I'm not very online.
I know, me neither.
You're not very here in the studio either.
All right. That's right. We're gonna have to move on to Gary number 11. All right. No other current events to talk about?
I don't
Anything
think
going
so.
on?
No, I brought it up, but I don't have anything.
Oh, these you see that I'm in jeans today. I'm really dressed down. Do you know what brand of jeans these are?
Oh, don't tell me.
I bet you
American
can.
Eagle.
American Eagle, baby. I bought them before the ad. I bought them way before the ad.
Why
Don't
are we
worry.
even talking about this?
I bought them way before the ad. Wasn't because of that. Just getting that out
But you
there.
had to get it out there.
I had to get it out there. That's right. But they're not a sponsor of the show. Maybe they could be. Maybe
Oh,
they're
no.
maybe they're
We're
into
going
that.
down a bad path.
I'm not gonna do any
Andrew,
of those.
it's
I'm not gonna do any of those kind of commercials, man. All right. Anyway, no more current events. Let's get to the topic
yeah,
at
let's
hand.
talk about Christian things.
All right. Part 1. Go ahead. Hit me with it.
All right. The Bible never mentions theology. This is like the revamp of the first paragraph, isn't it?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Bible never mentions theology. It does not preach theology, nor does it encourage us to preach theology. Paul does not preach theology, nor did any of the other apostles. During the centuries when the church was strong and vibrant, she did not preach theology either. Theology is an invention of biblical scholars, theologians, and politicians, and one of its chief effects is to keep Christians and the church in their proper marginal place. Theology is Gnostic, and the church firmly rejected Gnosticism from her earliest days.
You said the GN word.
The GN word.
The GN word. Is he right about that?
He's going to justify his outrageous claims later on. I will note, though, I actually think there's like something Catholic, and if you're if you're someone who looks at the history of the church as its maturity cycle, then the fact that biblical scholars and theologians and politicians, even Constantine, are involved in the making of theology is actually a good thing. So whatever he says about theology, I don't mind it being the invention of history, because that's how the church comes alive.
But yeah, it's theology isn't this this antiseptic thing, this thing completely divorced from,
that's what we're gonna
the
get
tangible
into.
world. Yeah, it like we often think it is. It's like, oh, it's in a theology book. It's in the book. It has no connection to life whatsoever, and of course it does historically. It absolutely did. So yeah, he'll get it. He'll get into these things.
Right.
So part 2. There are 2 problems with theology, one of form and one of content. Formally, the Bible is not a theology text or a catechism that arranges doctrines in a systematic order. Paul's epistles have often been treated as mini textbooks, but they are manifestly not. They are epistles, encyclicals, addressing specific issues in the churches. Paul was not a university theologian calmly writing from a safe haven above the fray. Like the Lord he served, Paul entered the fray. He taught truths about God, but they were taught in the context of conflict and deployed in the form of weaponry. Form cannot be stripped away without changing content. And when Paul's various statements on, say, justification are removed from the epistolary and ecclesiastical context and organized into a calm and systematic and erudite doctrine, they become something different from what Paul taught. The Bible is preaching and prophecy, not theology. With regard to content, theology frequently aims to deal with the specifics of historical events.
Not with the specifics.
Thank you. This is why I interrupt you. Not with the specifics of historical events, but with timeless truths of doctrine. But the content of Scripture almost wholly consists of records of historical events, commentary on events in prophecy, and epistle, celebration, and memorial of events in Psalms, and occasionally reflections on the constants of life in the form of Proverbs. Much of the treatment of historical events takes the form of address to the community of Israel, address that includes both invitation and rebuke. Further, theology is often conceived as a theoretical science, which can, at some secondary moment, be applied to practical life. Theology is theory, and the process of application serves as a bridge to connect it to the practical lives of Christians in the church. Heidegger better captured the flavor of Christian teaching when he wrote that every theological statement and concept addresses itself in the very content to the faithful existence of the individual in the community. When I teach that the persons of the Trinity live in eternal perichoretic unity, I am not merely making an ontological first-order claim about the nature of reality, though I am doing that. I am not teaching a timeless truth that has to be applied to the ever-shifting realities of an historical community. Rather, I teach about the Trinity as a way of regulating the language and practice of the church, especially her language and practice in worship. Properly, all teaching is application. Okay. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I really like the challenge that this is like, whenever we talk about things on a daily basis, like whenever I debate people online, one of the themes that comes out in my own thinking is particularism. That we have to that like everything should be contextualized, that these aren't these universal political values like democracy or whatever. I think one of the benefits I've had in rethinking this and drawing more of a historicist approach, I think, is similar to what Lightheart is saying here, that theology can sometimes be a stand-in for the practical complexities of life. Life and history is very messy.
Yeah.
And the things that the church teaches, you have to focus on its context and not just universalizing it into these neat little boxes. And he's going to talk about this later on, but I think that's what he's drawing.
Yeah, and so like he's not, I mean, even when he's talking about like teaching on the Trinity, like obviously there are timeless truths. Obviously there are theological principles that and concepts and ideas that are eternal, unchanging, and so forth. That is true. But when we approach theology like it's this science, and then we're reducing things to definitions, and
the problem is that like,
and that we've arrived.
The point of the Bible is actually not centered on timeless truths. It's centered on the history and the unfolding of history.
Yes.
And you can derive some timeless truths out of it. Yeah. But most of the Bible is actually just contextual. It's contextual.
Yeah. And that's
like have you ever had these boomer ladies? And I say that, like, I'm thinking about my mom, so I'm not going to, you know what I mean? But like,
we love boomer ladies.
We love boomer ladies. And this is like when Brian and Garrett, they're always teasing boomer ladies, and Garrett can't because his mom gets offended, but Brian does.
Yeah, my mom is a boomer lady. I like her a lot.
Here's the point. They're always throwing out things like Jeremiah 31. I know the plans that I have for you.
My mom doesn't do that, but go ahead.
My mom's always and she'll like, I'm confused because, like she'll say that to me. Like, I know the plans I have for you. And I'm like, Mom, that's very specific to Israel. It doesn't mean that God has a great career path for you.
Like there is a plan. Like you could apply it.
No, but that's not the point. Of Jeremiah.
No,
that's
it's
what
not.
He's saying.
Yeah, that's right.
Those timeless truths, people get so centered on them that they rip everything out of context and they put it into this neat package.
Well, that's one of the challenges I think in preaching the Bible, especially to modern American people, even though like, my people at church here and church back home in Minnesota, like all the places I've been are really good, know the Bible really well. But it's still a challenge because it's a completely foreign and alien world that you're entering into when you read the scriptures, whether it's the Old Testament or the New. And it's very foreign to us. It's very alien to us. And you have to, I mean, it's almost like, did you ever, why am I asking you this?
I haven't seen it.
Did you ever watch, maybe you did this, when you were a kid and you'd watch, Bob Ross paint. Did you ever see that?
I've seen clips.
Okay, you've seen that. And, he's painting, the happy little trees and the picture and all of that. And, you got to paint the background first. You got to do a lot of work in the background in painting, right? The background and the foreground and the middle ground. Like before you do any details on anything, you have to provide that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of preaching, and this is why my sermons are so long, CJ. It's not because I just like hearing my own voice. Gary's rolling his eyes. but because you have to paint that picture. you have to because otherwise you end up with, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. And it's like, no, that's about Israel.
Yeah.
Of coming back from the exile. That isn't about, like your career path or what's going to happen with your kids or whatever. I mean, you can maybe apply it in that way and apply the principle from that to it, but you've got to go through several steps to get there. It's not this direct thing the way people use
But
it.
also, if the point that you're like, if you're looking through this Bible to try to find timeless truths, you're doing the Bible wrong.
That's right.
That's the point.
Yeah. That it is as much history and the particular context of what God is doing in that moment in history, maturing
it's
humanity.
basically all history.
Yeah. And our own history operates the same way. So 3, let's go to 3. Consider theology proper, the doctrine of God. Does the Bible give us timeless truths about God? In a sense, yes. God is eternally a Trinity, equally righteous and holy and just and true. In an important sense, no. We know God is eternally triune because the Father sent the Son, who with the Father has poured out the Holy Spirit, and this all happened in history. We know God is righteous and holy and just and true because he has spoken in time and because he has acted in history. Even theology proper does not deal with purely timeless realities. How can a doctrine of the atonement be formulated as a set of timeless truths? Right.
Yeah.
Thing that happens in history. 4, I'll just keep rolling right through. Theology is a product of Christianity. Again, he's using Christianity like he did in the previous 2 episodes. You should listen to those if you haven't yet. It doesn't mean the true biblical religion. He means, the modern perversion of the biblical religion. Theology is a product of Christianity and aids in its entrenchment. If theology deals with timeless truths, then all the temporal things we encounter in life are outside the range of theology. But everything we encounter in life is temporal. Therefore, all of life is outside of theology. All that remains within the realm of theology are perhaps ecstatic and timeless encounters of the soul with God, God with the soul. Theology keeps Christian teaching at the margins and ensures that other voices, other languages, other words shape the world of temporalities. Politics is left to politicians, economics to economists, sociology to sociologists, history to historians, and philosophy to madmen. That's a joke. I'm glad you laughed. Theology ensures that Christians have nothing to say about nearly everything.
This is a classic debate right now in the new Christian right. Should theologians interact with politics and economics and so on? Right. And he's complaining that the rise of theology has basically rendered theologians useless in these areas. And so in a world of specialization, theologians are very bad political strategists.
You don't say.
So I don't think the solution here is to have the pastors mobilized into the economics departments or anything.
No. Oh no, that's not what he's. I don't think that's the argument he's making either. But you could see how theologians and pastors who are of a particular theological bent, how that is a very safe and comfy place to be, right? Because if you have a speciality in theology, right, you can argue all day long about the meaning of certain Greek words. You can argue all day long about what this guy in the Reformation said versus that guy in the Reformation said. You can argue all those things all the time, have intense debates, and none of it really actually matters to the outside world, right? No one is going to cancel you. No one is going to get you fired. No one's going to dox you. No one's going to send you death threats, because at least in the 21st century, because of your views on justification or the atonement, or on and on down the list, right? That is not going to happen, right? It's a safe, comfortable place because why? I mean, the reasons he says right here, that it's sealed off, right? It's hermetically sealed from actual life, from temporalities. It never interacts with any of these things.
Yeah.
and then it leaves it to basically to like prog evangelicals, libs, mainliners, to be like, well, there's all these parts of the Bible that talk, read the prophets, and they're excoriating Israel for their treatment of the poor and the widow and the sojourner, and therefore we should have infinity immigration and massive welfare
If
state.
theology is just timeless truths, then you can apply them in certain ways. And when you're within the liberal democratic moment, you're going to apply them in liberal democratic ways. And that's always the problem of this theology that has no relevance to the nitty gritty, the complexities, the messiness of daily life. And he's going to get into that too. But I think that's part of the point is, if God is just love in this hypothetical, that's where theology keeps it. Then therefore we have to help all of these political implications about democracy and universal suffrage and equality and all these things. They derive from the approach to biblical life that has to do with theology and Christianity. That's right.
Yeah. That is, and that's part of it too, is like historically theology played a significant, and theology itself was intensely political.
Theology was politics. Actually.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Like, I mean, you just look at the conflicts in the church in the 4th century at the time of the Council of Nicaea, right? These were not just merely theological factions. These were political factions in Rome, vying for supremacy.
This is politics. Yeah.
And all throughout, like, that's why, the supposed like wars of religion. Oh, we got all these wars of religion going on. And it's like, no, these were actual wars between nations and principalities. And the teams all lined up according to their theology. Like, the theology is like the afterthought, actually. Even like the Reformation. Like, the Reformation happened because the political situation allowed for it to take place, because there were fissures in the hold that the papacy had over Europe, right? That's why it happened. Like, there were political fissures there, not because everyone just up and decided they didn't want to be Roman Catholic anymore, and then a couple countries decide, Henry VIII, wanted to divorce his wife, and then bam, England's Protestant. Like that's not what happened. The political situation created it, which is upsetting to a lot of people to hear, because they think it's a populist revolt, and it wasn't. Populist delusion.
Well, the reason they think that is because they're seminarians, and then they can imagine themselves as
Martin Luther.
Basically,
yeah. That's not the way it went down. So number 6. And we're probably going to have to do this one in 2 or 3 parts.
Number 5.
I skipped 5. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a good one. Practical theology departments at seminaries do not make theology more practical. They ensure that theology outside practical theology departments will remain impractical, that it will remain theology. Practical theology ensures that life will remain outside theology. Practical theology ensures that the secular remains secular. Practical theology ensures that the church will remain in the grip of Christianity. Yeah, that's the point. Like, that's always the interesting thing, when you have the theology department and then the practical theology department. And what that is saying is that, regular theology is otherwise impractical. Right. That's what you're testifying to. Like, this is actually all totally impractical. It's like when you were you were homeschooled, but maybe you said this to your mom. When you're studying something in math class or in science class or some class, and people would do this. I'm not saying I did this, but you raise your hand. Teacher, when are we ever going to have to use this in real life? Right. Did you ever ask that to your mom?
Yeah.
When am I ever going to use this in real life? Yeah. And a lot of the time is like never. Yeah. Do you know how many times I've had to use the Pythagorean theorem in my life since 6th grade geometry class? You know how many times?
0.
Exactly 0. Yes. 0 times. Now, is it good for me, for my, formation as a human being, as a man, to know the Pythagorean theorem? Yeah. Yeah, it is. Gary says no. But and it's the same kind of thing. Like, imagine if you had practical geometry as a class and geometry It's like, all right, we're going to study geometry now. None of this is really going to matter to anything, but we're going to get into practical geometry, and that's going to be important to your day-to-day life. Like that's that's what basically we're saying when you have a practical theology department. That is just totally impractical. So now to 6. Theology is bad enough, but modern theology is theology cultivated into idolatry, bowing before science, social science, or philosophy. Modern theology has adjusted its distinctive language and insight to conform to the modern sense, to the common sense of modernity. Metaphysics, or evolutionary science, or liberal political theory, or whatever undermines in advance what can be true of God and his ways. Heidegger, again, may be cited as a prophet from among the Gentiles. For modern theology, quote, the deity can come into philosophy only insofar as philosophy of its own accord and by its own nature requires and determines that and how the deity enters into it. This is suicide for theologians. Before it begins to listen to God's word, modern theology has already decided what the word can and cannot say. This is not only suicide, as Barth discerned, it is disobedient. Or Barth. I always say Barth because I'm an autodidact and I didn't get any, highfalutin degrees where they teach you to say Barth. And people make fun of me when I say Barth. It's like, cool, man.
Let it out.
Just
let it out.
I learned myself some theology, buddy. So anyway, comment, Mr. Engel.
No comment. No comment.
No comment.
No comment.
Like you're talking to a
Nothing
journalist.
new. 7. Theology is a specialized professional language, often employing obscure Latin and Greek terms that are never used by anyone but theologians, as if theologians live and talk about a different world from the one mortals inhabit. They often do, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Theology functions sociologically like other professional languages to keep people out and to help the members of the guild to identify one another. Whereas the Bible talks about trees and stars, about donkeys and barren women, about kings and queens and carpenters.
That's right.
Yes. All right.
I just had to get rid of that. Yeah, I mean, it's totally right. Like the Bible,
So this
the Bible's
right
an
here.
earthy book, man.
This sentence right here. Theology functions sociologically like other professional languages. This is so true.
Yeah.
This is why like the professional theologians can't relate to what's going on the new Christian right.
No.
Americans, they're everyday Americans, they have no relation to them at all.
No, none whatsoever. They're inhabiting a totally different world.
Yeah.
It's a safe and comfortable world.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's not a world where there's life and death, where there is a complete and utter social devastation and brokenness. I don't like saying brokenness. It's really kind of a regime evangelical word, isn't it? Sorry, forgive
But
me.
it's true. There's a lot of brokenness.
There is, yeah.
And more's coming, and the theologians are unequipped to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean,
because
just
their minds dwell in the world of timeless truths.
yeah, we were talking this morning at coffee. We're having coffee this morning. And I mean, we're just talking about the fact that like Zoomer men have gotten a really, really raw deal, that they're shut out of the mainstream economy largely, and their prospects for marriage and family have vastly diminished. And that they don't even have any young women to talk to, that like socially too. Like, I mean, part of it is like you grow up in like the prime teenage years of your life, and the only social interaction you're able to get for like a year and a half is on the internet. How much that messed people up.
Yeah.
How they're not able to like have a conversation in person with people anymore. Right. That's bad. That's bad. But don't worry, theologians are here to save the day. 8. Theology tells us that God is eternal and unchangeable in his being, wisdom, power, holiness, justice, goodness, and truth. The Bible tells us that God relents because he is God, Joel 2:13-14, that God is shrewd with the shrewd, Psalm 18:25-29, that he rejoices over us with shouting, Zephaniah 3:14-20, and that he is an eternal whirlwind of triune communion and love. right? That's going to upset a lot of
Yeah.
classical theology people. The people that read Dolezal, like, I don't know. But you do have to come to grips with the anthropomorphic language that Scripture uses about God.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I like Lightheart is he doesn't get worked up about classifying everything. He just speaks to God as if we are his image bearers, and that it's just a normal way to speak about God. You don't have to solve his problems for him.
That's right. 9. This is good. Theology is a Victorian enterprise, neoclassically bright and neat and clean, nothing out of place. Whereas the Bible talks about hair, blood, sweat, entrails, menstruation, and genital emissions. Bible's an earthy book, right? They're even this last Sunday, I preached on Genesis 31, and and like half the congregation's children, like young children, and I'm preaching on, and in that passage, Rachel has stolen the household idols of her father Laban.
Mm-hmm.
And she hid them in the camel's saddle, and she's sitting on that in the tent. And she's like, "Sorry, I can't get up. I'm on my period." And I'm like, man, how do I explain that to a bunch of little kids? Right? How do I, delicately? And so I just kind of like glossed over it. Like all the adults knew what was going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things. And you get to that point in various parts in Scripture where it's like, I'm gonna save that for mom and dad on the car ride home from church. Did that ever come up for you guys?
Did not. No,
No.
way over.
Yeah.
But
Good.
I mean,
great.
The Bible is.
But the Bible is that kind of book.
Well, the Bible has more of this kind of stuff than it does the neatly boxed and ribbon tied family truths. It's narrative and it's gritty
and it's got gross stuff in it.
Yeah,
because the world is gross. Mm-hmm. It's a book about the real world that God made, and there's icky stuff in there, and you just gotta the Bible's not rated G, right? Sometimes it's rated R, and it's not all rated R, but a lot of it is. That's why this is totally far afield, but one of the things I absolutely hate, is all of the little children's Bibles. They're so like ooey gooey and sentimental and stuff like that. Especially for like for my boys, right? My our all our boys are about the same age, and like they're at the age where they really like war stories and violence and combat and fighting. And if I go to buy my son like a children's Bible, it's all going to be like precious momentsy kind of stuff, and there's nothing. There's the action Bible, which is, it's okay. It's people in the chat will probably be like, okay, like I liked it. And it's not bad. It's not terrible, but like,
you want some entrails.
I want some blood. I want some blood and guts. One of the things I remember when I was a little kid, one of my favorite storybooks that my mom got me, and I can't believe she got me this, was a book called St. George and the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that? You have that book probably. And I remember reading that. I was just fascinated. It was beautiful. It was laid out like an illuminated manuscript, and it's from, I think, Spencer's Fairy Queen, right? And I remember reading it. It's awesome. Knight is fighting a dragon, and there's like blood and guts in there. And I remember looking it up because I was going to buy it for my son, my eldest, right, when he was a newborn. Like you get when you have your first baby, and you buy all sorts of stuff for him that he's like it's gonna be years before you could do it. Like I was super excited, right? So I'm like, I'm getting him this book, and I saw the Amazon reviews on it, and it had all these 1-star reviews, and the 1-star reviews were like, "This is totally inappropriate for children." And I'm like,
so you bought 5 of them.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like, how come there are no children's storybook Bibles with 1-star reviews from overly sensitive women? I think probably like that little grandmas or something. They're like, this is inappropriate for children. They should not be reading this. Like, I want a sword in Eglon's belly and all the poop coming out. I want that in a book for the kids. I want that. I do. It's in the Bible, man, and it's cool. It's a cool story for kids. And we're like, oh no, you can't. I mean, it says mud, but we all know what that means. And like that should be. Why is there not a children's storybook Bible, the Book of Judges? Right? Riddle me that, Batman.
Because
it's all theology.
it's hard to get timeless stuff
Yeah.
out of that.
Yeah, it's hard to get. Oh, God is so nice and sweet and lovely, and it's like, whole lot of the Bible has a lot of blood and guts and stuff like that, and stuff little boys like. Right? We need that for our boys. We don't want them to think that the Bible's boring, because it's not boring.
It is funny, like if you look at medieval England when they had executions and stuff, public executions, all the children would be there to witness it.
Yes.
It would,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah, the dangerous Bible for boys. Anthony B. right there. Let's go. Let's do it.
I already see the headlines. It'll be something like Andrew hates children's Bibles for children.
Yeah, this is gonna get clipped. Yeah. Yes. He thinks the Bible's gross and icky. Yeah, Christian nationalist pastor wants to create R-rated children's Bible. That'll be the headline. And Alfred Rex story Bible, that is really good. Those are all like Durer woodcuts. Alfred Rex is pretty good.
Can you collect these?
Alfred Rex is solid. And just it was a lady that did like the summary of the different Bible stories, and she very clearly had read Jim Jordan. It's all like very it was published through whatever outfit Ray Sutton is involved with that made it. So that's the connection there, because Sutton and Jordan were together in Tyler, Texas. And so it was really good. I DM'd Raymond Ibrahim asking him to make a kid's book. Yes, that would be incredible. That would be awesome. Yeah, we got to make that happen. Alfred Rex is really good. Especially the language, the summaries of the stories, really, really good. 100% stamp of approval from me. It's just Durer woodcuts. Like if they actually like had an illustrator drawings, it would be even better. But for the text, it's fantastic. So part 10, what's that ad time? Since I just did a free ad for Alfred Rex, let's do some ads from our actual sponsors. So yeah, listen up to these. Gary, hit us with the ads.
If you're like me, you grew up on beef jerky. It was a must-have for any road trip. But most beef jerky is loaded with sugar, soy, and nitrates. Ew. Farmer Bill's is a Christian-owned meat snacks company in South Dakota that offers pasture-raised meat snacks. They make biltong. It's like beef jerky, but air-dried with clean ingredients and way better. The pre-sliced biltong is perfect for protein on the go, and the slab is great for snacking or hosting a party. It's like a large, dry-aged ribeye with perfect marbling of fat.
Go to farmerbillsprovisions.com or click the link in the description below and use code CONTRA to save 20% off your order today.
Farmer Bill's Provisions, the perfect protein snack.
Summers Pet Treats makes all-natural dog treats using high-quality, human-grade ingredients.
Every ingredient is carefully selected for a specific nutritional value, which means they're healthy.
Ben, are you eating the treat?
Yeah, dude, I got that dog in me.
I don't think that's what they meant by human-grade ingredients, but hey, if you want to support a Christian-owned business that believes in the Dominion mandate, then go pick up some healthy dog treats at summerspetTreats.com.
And use code NCP10 at checkout. That's summerspetTreats.com and use code NCP10.
Get that dog in you.
Did you know that 60% of Americans will avoid your business if you have an unattractive logo, even if you have good reviews? Seriously, it's true. This podcast is sponsored by Resurrection Design Co., and they're on a mission to help churches and Christian businesses like yours flourish for the kingdom of Christ and the glory of God through bold and beautiful branding. If you want them to design your website for free, be the first listener of this podcast to sign up for a brand identity package before the last day of this month. Just visit resurrectiondesign.co/contra. If you own a business, you have a duty to protect your customers, and that starts with cybersecurity. Enter Armored Haven, a Christian company that provides full-scale cybersecurity for any scale business. Their security protects all of your internet services, such as email, cloud services, devices, and more on various platforms like Microsoft, Google, Dropbox, and Salesforce. If it's connected to the internet, they can help secure it and manage it, bottom line. Backed by NSA experience, it's all done at an affordable cost and based upon an explicitly Christian ethos. So visit armoredhaven.com/contramundum to receive 3 months of free monitoring with any new service agreement. That's armoredhaven.com/contramundum. Armored Haven. Stop the bad nerds by calling in the good nerds.
All right, we're back. Section 10. Here's an experiment that you can do at any theological library. You even have my permission to try this at home. Step 1. Check the indexes of any theologian you choose for any of the words mentioned above. The words were hair, blood, sweat, entrails, menstruation, and genital emissions. Augustine does not count. Augustine's theology is as big as reality or bigger. Step 2. Check the Bible concordance for the same words. Step 3. Ponder these questions. Do theologians talk about the world the same way the Bible does? Do theologians talk about the same world that the Bible does?
Yeah, that's a good thought experiment or actual experiment to do. Like, no,
There's probably blood in there. That's probably it.
blood, but it'll be in reference to like the
Atonement or
atonement and
something,
things like that. But beyond blood, I bet there's none of the other things. And you know, the question, that's old covenant stuff. It's not, like relevant to theology. And it's like, well, at one point in time it was. So maybe we should ask why.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why did God require those things of Israel? Like, why? What about that particular stage in the history of the covenant made that so important?
Well,
what was the point? What was God doing?
But his point here is not just that theology is gritty and messy. It's also that the Bible is a book that deals with particular circumstances.
Yes.
And it's not primarily a textbook. And the way that theology departments or theology is done today is very much as a textbook. It's a philosophy.
Well, that's one of the things I hated about math, going back to math.
In other words, the Bible is more analogous to like Homer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah. Ooh, it's a dangerous idea. But I mean, that's also the thing, like why I hated math growing up in school. One is they would always find the most boring people to teach it. Right. Every teacher, like interesting teachers taught other stuff. The most boring people always, apologies to any math teachers in the chat, but in my experience, it was always the most boring people that got filtered into the math education program. And the way that it was taught, of course, is like the textbook descended down from the heavens, and now we have math. Rather than all the stuff like I didn't think geometry was cool until like I learned the history of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there was this Greek guy, Pythagoras, and he discovered all this stuff. Like they figured it out, right? They only had this much math at this point. That's all anybody had. And then they discovered new things and added on top of that edifice. Like the historical process of mathematics is fascinating.
It is fascinating.
It is a fascinating subject. Just the story of how Western mathematics was developed. The fact they didn't have a concept of zero for millennia is fascinating. And what was I taught? Well, here's how to do a matrice. And it's like, oh, you could actually tell me the story of Isaac Newton. And when you want me to learn calculus, right? What was he trying to do? What was he trying to accomplish? And how was it? How does this interact with the real world? Like, oh, here we could calculate how to have a satellite orbit the moon. That's cool. That's interesting. Instead, it was, we're just going to do this rote stuff that has no connection to the real world. And the textbook just appeared out of nowhere, right? At this holy writ. Right. And that's how theology is taught as well. It's just like, oh, the big fat theology textbook descended from the skies, and now we have it. Rather than this was an historical process as well, right? There was fighting and conflict over getting to this point. And then you have the practical theology, but then the historical theology department. And that's well, how did we get the theology? And like, actually, no, it should be all those things, right? You shouldn't have any of those. You should just have, like, theology should be that. It's a historical process to get us to where we are. Like, when did these concepts come from? Right? What was the fight over? Like, who argued against that? Why would anybody disagree? Right? Who did? Like, that stuff's interesting because, right, that's much more like the Bible, actually. So anyway, 11, right? He goes on to talk about Augustine. Do you say Augustine or Augustine?
I was taught that Augustine is the person, Augustine is the city. That's how I was always taught.
Yeah, that's kind of how I do it
That's
too.
what Tom Wood says.
Yeah, I like. Also,
Catholic.
Like, St. Augustine is a cool city. I like that city. You ever been there?
No, I haven't been there.
I mean, you would hate it. You would hate it because it's like this tourist trap and it's full of consumers and all of that. But like, the fort there is really cool. None of the Floridians in the chat are commenting at all about St. Augustine, but cool city. But I say Augustine too. Okay. In City of God, Augustine discussed the theory of religion developed by the Roman writer Varro, who classified religions as poetic, civic, or natural. The religion of the myths, the religion of the city, and the religion of the philosophers. Augustine's response to Varro was first to deconstruct. Ooh, he's deconstructing the distinction between civic and poetic religion. Varro wanted to condemn the latter while justifying the former, but Augustine would have none of it. Civic religion, he knew, was as crass and disgusting as the religion of the myths. Having conflated poetic and civic religions, Augustine dismissed both as insulting to God and the gods, and moved on to discuss natural religion with greater respect and at greater length. In the process, he concluded that some philosophers, Plato especially, came very close to Christian truth. Augustine's turn from civic and mythic religion to the philosophers was not unprecedented. Most of the earliest post-apostolic writers chose philosophers rather than poets or politicians as their interlocutors, and answered philosophers on philosophical ground. The decision was fateful. A Christian chooses to deal with paganism by dealing with pagan philosophy only if he has made a prior assumption that the church is somehow analogous to a philosophical school, that is, only if he already assumes something like the heresy of Christianity. The City of God as a whole, of course, is a vast exercise in civic theology, presenting the Civitas Dei as alternative to the Civitas Terrena. Even so, Augustine chose to carry on much of his conversation with paganism in the arena of philosophy rather than in the town square, and that choice has shaped the conversation to this day. It shapes the conversation toward apologetics rather than prophecy. It reinforces the heresy of Christianity and promotes theology's notion that the Bible is another philosophy text. It is no doubt of significance that the Apostle Paul appeared before kings, magistrates, presumably Caesar, and that he preached in Jewish synagogues, in stadia, and in the temple. Only once, to our knowledge, did he preach to philosophers, and that was a distinctly unsuccessful venture. Acts chapter 17. There is a message in that, both about the church, about the proper deployment of the church's energies, and about the hopes for success in dealing with the cultured despisers. So,
I think
poetic religion, civic religion, and philosophical religion.
I think it's a really good point, because I feel like Christianity, biblical Christianity, needs to engage more in the poetics than in the philosophers. I think that if you did that, the seminaries would basically be bankrupt. Because
you need a lot of book learning to deal with philosophers.
Yeah,
talk about metaphysics.
But our dream of the world would be more heroic, and dynamic, and it'd be healthier, and our society would be healthier. Yeah, now, I do think one thing is overstated, because I think that the engagement with the philosophers was actually where the politics was. So I wouldn't be as critical in
Yeah.
Augustine as
I think
lighthearted.
I think so. I think you have a good point there. I mean, that's where the fight was too.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
That's where power was.
Yeah.
Like that's where the great Athanasius, that was the political battle was the philosophy battle.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you can forgive them for engaging.
You got to fight where the battle is. But as far as our own era goes, right, we've ceded poetic religion to anyone else to take it, and so then the mythos that undergirds a society gets to be crafted by somebody else.
That's totally true. And think about Islam and Hinduism and all these. They are very much poetic religions, and Christianity, coupled with liberal democracy, has lost all of that.
It is entirely philosophical,
but also specialized and irrelevant.
Yeah,
and it plays almost no function within our capitalist system at all.
No, other than a consumer choice. Yeah, and when someone
that's
else
what's
is
going to happen when you take theology and you make it into something that needs to be studied, into these timeless truths
and dissected.
It's going to work much better with liberal democracy and capitalism and consumerism and all these things, because then it's a theology that appeals to the individual mind. And when your focus is on the individual mind, the product of that is going to be mass consumption.
That's right. Yeah, rather than the organic whole of a society, right? Rather than saying, okay, your mythos that undergirds your whole reality is hogwash and garbage. And so the myths of the post-war world, which we've discussed many times, are collapsing in on themselves. They're no longer able to hold things together. And there is already a battle for an alternative myth, right? That ultimately, I think, this is not going to be the thing that gets clipped, but I wish it would be. That is the conflict of Christian nationalism, right? That's it right there. That if the mythos of, all right, we defeated the great Satan in the middle of the 20th century, and then we defeated communism, which I guess wasn't that bad, but it still had to go, right? That's kind of the perception of the post-war mythos. If that's collapsing, right, that we are the good guys that conquered the world and brought peace and freedom everywhere we touched and set foot, if that's falling apart and no one believes that anymore, there's not going to be a vacuum, right? Something will replace it. And the two competing things right now are, third worldism, that Western European peoples are irredeemably evil and everything they've touched is noxious and horrible, and so they must be wiped out. That is overtaking things. It is very much happening.
Yeah.
And
the other main current is that not only all those things, but also that they need to be punished for colonialism.
That's right. Well, that's part of it. Yeah, it's a
key part of it.
They brought the evils of Westernism to the rest of the world.
Revenge.
And they must be punished for the evil that they've done in the third world. So that's one of the myths that is competing to take the spot of the post-war myth. And the other is that Christendom was good.
This is why,
we want to have Christendom. That Christ is king, and the nation should be Christian.
We should read a C.S. Lewis book, because
which one?
Well, we'll pick one. But well, the point is that Lewis was begging people in Europe to re-mythologize Christianity.
Yeah,
and he was totally right.
Yeah,
and I remember
explain. Maybe some people in the audience don't know what that means, to re-mythologize.
Well, it means to place the Christian religion back in the realm of poets. That's what it means.
Yeah, the poetic religion.
He said, he would say that Christianity, like so many other religions, is one of myth. The only difference is that in Christianity, it's true myth.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. Yeah, we should read some Lewis and discuss it. I think like that is the battle right now, though. And you look at like the other currents on the right, and there really isn't a grand mythos, grand story to tell other than the Christian one. There isn't. Like, what are you gonna like read Homer? Like, I don't. What is there?
Besides the Christian one,
Yeah,
Homer.
yeah. I mean, really, there isn't anything else.
Well, there's a lot. I
Well,
mean,
there's a lot, but there's nothing that would have
have you
any.
have you read Lightheart? Have you read Lightheart's book, like Heroes of the City of Man?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, currently there isn't a
no.
competing vision
No.
that is certainly not anyone that would have cachet with the majority of Americans.
Yeah.
Whereas the Christian story does.
Well, that's why, like, yeah, I mean, we should actually have a guest on and talk about myths and Tolkien and all that, because that was
Yes.
part of his project. You know?
Yeah, we should. I could think of a few people.
Too. All right, let's read
All right.
12 and 13.
Yeah.
We'll read them together.
Yeah, you read 12 for me.
I'm gonna read both.
All right, don't do it in an accent.
I'm not. I'll get banned. Mock Chinese proverb. Choose your interlocutors with care, for some will try to steal the conversation and change the subject. 13.
That's a very good proverb. The 19th century biblical scholar William Robertson Smith wrote, "The antique religions had, for the most part, no creed. They consisted entirely of institutions and practices. No doubt men will not habitually follow certain practices without attaching a meaning to them, but as a rule, we find that while the practice was rigorously fixed, the meaning attached to it was extremely vague, and the same rite was explained by different people in different ways without any question of orthodoxy or heterodoxy arising in consequence. In all the antique religions, mythology takes the place of dogma, that is, the sacred lore of priests and people, so far as it does not consist of mere rules for the performance of religious acts. It assumes the form of stories about the gods, and these stories afford the only explanation that is offered of the precepts of the religion and the prescribed rules of ritual." Right? You can even see that to a large degree in the old covenant religion to a certain degree, right? You read Leviticus and it doesn't explain the why and what for, right? You have to know the Bible really well to figure out the why and the what for in the book of Leviticus.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read like later Jewish literature, right, there's all sorts of arguments over why and what for. And of course, these are apart from the context of the incarnation. So naturally they get it wrong. And you can, and part of it is like, they're divorced from their own history, that the priesthood was eradicated. So they don't exactly know why these things were done. And so I find that really fascinating. I'll continue on here. While Robertson Smith's own account of the relation of a myth and ritual has been contested, it can hardly be doubted that myth and ritual constitute the bulk of ancient religions. We need to think only of the Pentateuch to see the force of Robertson Smith's observation. So yeah, that's what I just said. It's probably because I read this that I was thinking that. The Greco-Roman city and the Roman Empire were religious as well as political entities, and they were, like every ancient religion, constituted by myths and rituals. They were political theorists in the ancient, or there were political theorists in the ancient world, but actual cities and empires were not founded, like Lincoln's America, on a proposition. Rather, political order was presented, legitimated, and reinforced by myths represented, celebrated, and inculcated through rituals and feasts. We have no idea whether any Athenian watching the Orestian trilogy went home feeling pity and fear, but we can be reasonably certain that many Athenians went home proud of Athens and her institutions. We do not know whether Plato's Republic had any influence on debates within the Athenian ecclesia, though Socrates was put on trial for something, but we know that the meetings of the ecclesia were initiated with sacrifice, and that ecclesia were held immediately after the dramatic contests of the Dionysia. When Athenians looked at the reliefs on the Parthenon that depicted Theseus's triumph over the Amazons, they were doubtless reminded that Athens was the true defender of civilized virtues, of the proper order of man and woman. Each religion, especially each civic religion, also enacted a particular way of life. To be Spartan meant living out out of Spartan myths and being shaped by Spartan rituals, but also meant engaging the world as a Spartan. Being Athenian meant learning to lean into life in a particular manner. Being Roman was a matter of maintaining dignity and avoiding shame, as well as knowing the Roman myths and performing Roman rituals. Now, when an apostle showed up at a synagogue in the diaspora, he preached the gospel into a culture, the Jewish culture, that already had its own myths and rites and rules of behavior. When an apostle showed up in a city in the Greek East, he entered a culture that had its own set of civic myths, inculcated from childhood, recited on public occasions, and celebrated in the festivals and rituals of civic religion. When an apostle ended up in Rome, he entered a city shaped by the myths of Aeneas and Augustus, memorialized in festivals and sacrifices to the genius of the emperor. And when the apostle came, he came with an alternative myth, which he called the gospel, taught his converts to perform rituals of initiation and conviviality, which Christians eventually called sacraments, and called men to an alternative way of life, which he called becoming a disciple of Jesus. The wandering apostle may have had no money in his kit, but he came to town with an alternative culture in his back pocket.
I love that section.
Oh man, BJJ wins again. Look at the comments. Andrew's pronunciation of "vag" was the most Wisconsin thing I've heard all day. I'm not from Wisconsin. Oh man, Gary's laughing over there because he decided to pick an NFL football team based entirely on me. He's like, which team does Andrew hate the most? And I stumbled into this trap and I said, well, Green Bay, obviously. It's like, I'm a Packer fan now. So anyway, now Gary loves the NFL. He's over there steaming at me now. He's like, no, not Wisconsin. Anyway, speaking of cultures, no, you did not. Oh, which one? Well, which player? I hope it's somebody terrible.
I don't know.
I hope it's somebody embarrassingly bad. Oh yeah. Anyway, I let me tell a story. Can I tell a story?
Can I stop you?
You're not going to be able to stop me. My favorite thing is when people have like when you go to a game and people have like the most obscure jerseys. And when I was in high school, the Vikings drafted a player out of University of Wisconsin, Erasmus James, and my buddy thought he was going to be awesome, so he spent like $200 on this like authentic jersey for the new draft pick, and that guy just was awful. He was totally terrible, and he was stuck with this jersey the rest of his life. Like, hey, how's Erasmus James doing? And now I look back, I'm like, that's actually pretty cool to have that. You know, it's very, like, wear that to a game, and it's a deep cut. So anyway, that's what's gonna happen to Gary with like you know, the 53rd man on the roster Packer jersey he got.
Did you really order a jersey?
Yeah. All right, I hope it's somebody awful. I can't wait to find out who it is. All right,
you gotta wear it.
Yeah,
on
we're
Saturday.
doing. Yes, everyone's like sports ball conversation. Here we go. Sports ball conversation. Listen, BJJ wins again started it by saying I was from Wisconsin. So anyway,
I don't even remember what you just
where
read.
where were we at? Well, alternative culture.
Well,
number 13.
Alternative culture, but also
Number
the way
13.
that myths are formed.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's what that was my earlier point, that Christianity was actually originated in a soil like
yeah. The question I have before I sidetracked myself is, does America have things like these?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what are they?
Johnny Appleseed, the Revolutionary War, crossing.
Yeah, where is it? Right there.
Delaware. Yeah,
show it, Gary. Yeah, are those myths? They're not still in operation anymore, though.
They absolutely are. We always like you could show any true American, not a paper American, but you could show any heritage American that photo. Something stirs within him, right? Right?
I'm reading the comments.
Don't read the comments.
Yes, that's true.
It is true.
You see Washington crossing the Delaware, the flag getting raised in Iwo Jima,
Paul Revere. Like he's talking about like founding myths right here, right?
Yes.
When Athenians looked at the reliefs on the Parthenon that depicted Theseus' triumph over like we're picturing Paul Revere, the British are coming.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Like that is it's a myth. Like that binds people together,
But-
way more than values.
Oh, definitely. But I think in modern America, is that the thing that binds modern Americans together?
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah. I don't
forgot that
think it,
we.
yeah.
different
I
country.
mean, I think what you're saying is totally true, and we need to recover these things. Absolutely.
There are myths, yes.
But what are the things that bind us together? It's like
The defeat of Hitler.
yeah, civil rights
Civil
era,
rights.
you know,
I have a dream.
yeah, stuff like that. I think you know, all of so much of the stuff in the 20th century where that's presented as progress and good, and that proves that we are the good, holy people in the world.
And that's not even like inherently a critique of those
no,
things.
it's
but
not. It's
they are
descriptive
at the forefront of
Yeah.
our minds as 21st century Americans.
Yeah, it's descriptive of things that are the mythos that holds us together and says and reinforces to us that we're good.
Yeah.
We're good people.
That's why undermining the World War II and its narrative about the world is so dangerous to the regime.
Yeah.
Because when you lose that mythos, you lose.
Yeah,
you
which
lose the country.
isn't always like, I mean, you certainly have, you know, revisionism, which says that like, oh, the wrong side wants stuff like that. But it's more like, no, this is an historical event that took place, and analyzing it not in terms of good and evil, but rather in terms of what did this nation do? Why did they do it? You know, making it.
But also, if it doesn't
animate normal history.
if it doesn't animate anyone's like commitments or anything anymore, then it's over. Like it's a very dangerous situation.
Yeah. If it doesn't provoke action or feeling, then it's just an historical marginalia.
Mhm.
Then the mythos is dead.
This is why
I think, you know what I think actually, like when I'm thinking about it, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. People are making fun of me. Is that our America pastime is dissing the French? It's our most Anglo feature that remains. That's pretty good.
I like.
Well, I do too. I love France. Clip that too. I love France. Great food. I love, I love food. Gary's over here. He's like, I could eat biscuits and gravy every day. And be happy.
I don't like
You know?
French food, but
I've never been more
love
excited to
French
eat
food.
McDonald's than when I visited France.
Yeah.
Their food sucked.
Yeah. No, like the McDonald's in France is actually like better.
Also, like, the steak is just worse.
They do actually, they do eat horse. I mean, that's more in Spain, I think, than France. But we're really getting crazy and wild today. What's in these protein shakes? Did you see that Celsius,
Yeah, I
by
saw
the way, that they accidentally put high noons in
Yes,
Celsius?
I saw that.
So I hope they didn't put anything in my protein shake. But we're getting wild here.
Got the guy who's been sober 30 years.
It's like I'm gonna crack open a Celsius. Yeah, I mean, there's a non-zero chance that somebody who has gone through gone through AA and has stayed on the wagon for decades, fell off the wagon because of Celsius, and that guy's gonna be rich at the end of it. Okay, so anyway, I think the mythos though. That mythos is collapsing. I think the reason why one of the things that you think back to, like, chain of events that's caused its collapse, I think some of it is Bushism and the global war on terror, where if the prevailing mythos is democracy is good and we're good because we believe in democracy and freedom, and then we go to Iraq and try to install democracy like it's a program to download into this country that is not suited for it whatsoever, and it's a total complete failure. Same with Afghanistan. Then you realize, oh, what if we're the bad guys here in this situation? Like, why are we doing this? This doesn't work. Like it really challenges. I mean, you think of all the men that fought over there and are fighting so that illiterate goat herds can dip their finger in purple ink, and then they just vote for the Taliban anyway. Right. Or totally corrupt communists, like in the case of Afghanistan. Then like, what was this all for? Right. What was the point of all of this? Right. I mean, the disillusionment that came from that experience is massive, massive. I mean, it undermined the mythos massively, I think.
I think crazy too, the generation that fought in Vietnam sent our men there, but they were like, but this time we'll clap when we get off the planes.
Yeah, that's right. We're not going to spit on you this time.
Yeah. We'll clap this time.
We'll clap. Well, and
and
it's not just the generation that fought in Vietnam. It's like the generation that spat on the soldiers that was in power, right? It wasn't like, I mean, how many like actual Vietnam vets were in Congress during that time? Like John Kerry was basically a fake one. George W. Bush was in the National Guard. Richard Blumenthal said he was in Vietnam and wasn't. Like, that was all phony. It was all fake. There was hardly like the only one that actually fought in Vietnam was like Jim Webb in Virginia, and they got rid of him quick, right? Yeah, that is an interesting point. But it's all the people. It was actually all the people opposed to the Vietnam War that engaged in the foreign interventionism, right? That's an interesting. It's an interesting little thing there, isn't it? So good point, Gary. All right. Where are we at? 14. Go ahead, CJ.
It would be nonsense to say this of a particular group of people. Though they do not wear uniforms, are not organized by rank, do not employ military language, do not enforce rules of military conduct, never perform any military ceremonies, and never engage in military operations, yet in spite of this, they are the military. Or it would be nonsense unless it were describing the French. All right. Military culture.
He's dissing the French again. Yeah.
Military culture is the sum of all these activities and practices. Culture is not a shadowy something existing in secret behind its manifestations in language, rights, and discipline. Culture is a people organized and united by its language, rights, rules, and mechanisms of enforcement. And also is the covenant. So also is the church.
This doesn't sound very propositional to me, man.
No, I was thinking about that when I read it.
Yeah. Oh, culture is a people organized and united by its language, rights, rules, and mechanisms of enforcement. Doesn't sound like
propositions.
Not a propositional nation to me at all. But the
I
church...
would also say something that I would also say it's shared memories and shared experiences. That's huge.
Yeah, and I think it's part of it is also, I don't think you would disagree with that.
No, he wouldn't. But that's funny. It's funny to leave that out after someone he's spent so much time emphasizing history.
Yeah, I think, if you were to rewrite this today, I bet he probably would. So 15, let us not talk of theology. Let us talk about the church's language and myth. The church is a distinct language group. In some obvious senses, this is not true. The church has a universal message of redemption, and it's incumbent upon her to make that gospel understood. Hence, the gospel and the Bible, quite rightly, have been and are being translated into hundreds of languages. And in this sense, the church is not a language group, but a multilingual empire. She is inherently and forever Pentecostal. Pentecost reversed Babel, overcoming the Babel, which followed God's judgment upon the rebellious nations. At Babel, differences of language brought confusion and divided nations. At Pentecost, differences of language brought order, conversion, and unity in one body. Babel produced different languages calling on different gods. Pentecost produced the first fruits of a reunited humanity, every tongue confessing in its own way that Jesus is Lord. In that Pentecostal sense, the church speaks and must speak one language. We have one confession, and with the confession comes a distinct way of naming the world and unique categories for interpreting creation and history. As a language group, the church is called to maintain and develop her own scriptural naming of the world. When the church enters a new mission field, she always comes into an existing culture in which the world is pre-classified. The church enters that situation with a new classification and new names. That is the mission. Christian language penetrates an existing language, and the church begins to attach new labels to everything she finds. Contextualization be damned. The church's mission is not to accommodate her language to the existing language, to disguise herself so as to slip in unnoticed and blend in with the existing culture. Her mission is to confront the language of the existing culture with a language of her own. Right. That's
mixed feelings on that one.
that's nails on the chalkboard to Kellerism. I can tell you that.
Well, yeah,
that's depth to Kellerism right
that's
there.
true.
And I mean, obviously, context matters. Like, you have to be intelligible to the people that you are preaching to, right? So I don't think he's saying that. I don't think he's saying, like, just be so out of context that nobody has a clue what you're saying.
But there's also, like, and this is one area where I think historically some of these guys, I'm not quite toe to toe with them, because I would emphasize the natural theology. And, like, when the church comes into the world and there's pre-classifications, one of those pre-classifications is the natural order of men and women. And the church doesn't circumvent that or change that or revolutionize that. Because why? Yeah. Because grace perfects nature.
Yeah.
And I think that's one area that I don't think there's enough nuance in Lightheart and Jordan in general.
Yeah, probably. I think, though, in this point here, and when you think about it, right, the thing that we have attempted to do, certainly my entire lifetime in evangelicalism, is make ourselves relevant to the world. Right? They made a whole magazine for, like, squishy leftoid evangelicals called Relevant Magazine. Right? We want to be relevant. Right? Just like every youth pastor, right, wants to be hip and relevant and cool to the kids. Right? He says things like, today, no cap and Riz and for real. Yeah, I gotta get the tats, man. Gotta get the tats. And so, like, yeah, that is the stuff we've tried to contextualize. I mean, like, we have a translation of the Bible called The Message, which is trying to contextualize the Bible to, like, modern people. And it's abysmal. It's awful. And so, yeah, like, why even begin doing that? And further, we have a competing myth to the mythos today. Like, that's part of it, is we have different way of naming things and classifying things, because, right, some of it is, like, the way they name and classify things is well outside the created order that God has made.
Yeah.
So when we come into the world, we say men are men and women are women. And you're coming into a world where everyone is looking at the emperor who's stark naked, and you're saying he's not wearing any clothes, right? Yeah. Like, that's what the church does. And so I'm looking at what he's saying in those terms, that what we come with is a challenge to the prevailing mythos, that, maybe democracy is great in particular contexts and works, but it isn't the be all and end all and final moral standard for everything, right? Just simply because the majority of people want a thing doesn't make that thing good. Right? That's majority of people want gay marriage in America. That doesn't make it good. Right? And you can name a majority of people want to murder babies in America. That doesn't make it good. Right? But someone who believes in democracy, like, has to believe, well, it must be good. Must be okay because everybody voted for it. Everybody thinks that. All right. Well, no, not at all. That, in fact, it's the intolerant minority that wins in democracy. And part of the church's job is to be that intolerant minority. Yeah. To say, no, I'm not putting up with that. We're not doing that. Yeah. No, I don't believe that. And so, yeah, this phrase here, like, the church's mission is not to accommodate her language to the existing language, to disguise herself so as to slip in unnoticed and blend in with the existing culture. Right? That defines evangelicalism over the last 40 years.
Yeah. I do have a little bit of a difficulty with this still, because I think that when the church comes into Germany or England or France, it's going to adopt itself and adapt itself to those cultures. And that's healthy. because
Yeah.
the French are not the English, and,
No,
and that God made nations, and that those nations have a particular cultures, and those things don't need to be eradicated.
I don't.
That Christianity should not be
Yeah.
Jacobinism.
I don't think the particularism is in conflict with what he's saying here. I think it's if you come into like, I mean, think of like France or Germany right now. I mean, part of the difficulty is biblical Christianity coming into France or Germany or Britain right now. One of the very first things it would do is say it's okay to be French and have French identity and say that France is only for Frenchmen. That's perfectly valid and licit.
Right. So
belief to have.
that has to be.
But that would be a challenge to
That
the
has to
existing
be
France.
that has to be implied here. Then, so when it's,
Yeah.
when he says the church enters the situation, the new classification, part of that framework of the church implies it's bringing along the natural order with it.
Yeah. So when the church came into Francia in late antiquity, right? It wasn't going in and saying, all right, you're no longer Franks anymore, and you no longer can have a nation. You no longer can do these things. Rather, it's like, all right, here is how God wants you to live.
It comes in with a new classification and new names.
Yeah, it does have new names and classifications for things, right? That are new. I mean, some of them will be old, right? It's not like you come in and you say, okay, you called this the blah, 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 and we call it a sky. And you call this the blah, 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 we call it the earth, right? Like there would be touch points of reality that,
right,
like they're not so far from reality that they have no connection to it whatsoever. But there are many things that are messed up that need to be challenged and corrected. Mm-hmm. That I think is meaning, because what he's rebuking here is saying you can have your cake and eat it too. You can remain the way that you are and maintain the old myths and rituals and way of life and just add Jesus. Right. That's evangelicalism for the last 40 years. That's all of Christendom for the last 40 years. And that is not the religion of the Bible. So 16, unless you have more.
Nope.
16. That's a good argument, good discussion, good debate, good dispirited debate. 16. Christianity does not offer a new language, but Christianity, so the pejorative Christianity, but only some religious words and phrases to add to the stock of the existing language. Christianity offers theology. 17. As N.T. Wright has put it, Jesus called the people of God to be Israel in a new way. And central to this calling was a set of names for Israel, or in many cases, new meaning given to old names. In his parables and sayings, Jesus challenged existing descriptions of Israel's calling and place in the world. By choosing 12 disciples, he indicated that his followers constituted the true Israel. He said the heirs of the kingdom were more likely to be tax collectors and prostitutes than Pharisees and scribes. Matthew 21:31. With John the Baptist, he insisted that being a blood descendant of Abraham did not ensure God's favor. Matthew 3:8-9. And said explicitly that the Jews who opposed him were children not of Abraham, but of the devil. John 8:37-44. The whole structure of the Sermon on the Mount is confrontational. Jesus reminded his hearers of what their elders and teachers had told them, and then announced, "But I say to you." Jesus gave new meaning to words like murder and adultery, offered new labels to describe those who hate and slander their brothers, and redefined what it meant to be children of our Heavenly Father. True righteousness, according to Jesus' definition, means following the words of Jesus, not the practice of the scribes and the Pharisees. At every point, Jesus mounted a frontal attack on the Pharisaical labeling of the world. The process of challenging old labels and giving new ones continued through the apostolic period. The Old Covenant as a whole was redescribed as a complex of types and shadows, of which the reality is Christ. Colossians 2:16-17. Jerusalem's temple was wonderful, but only a pale shadow of the true heavenly sanctuary. Hebrews 9:1-22. The Jews boasted of circumcision, but Paul said that circumcision by human hands meant nothing, and that true circumcision belonged to those who believe in Jesus and who, having the Spirit, are circumcised in heart. Romans 2:25-29. Paul identified the church as the seed of Abraham and said that fleshly Jews were not sons of Zion, but children of the slave woman. Galatians 4:21-31. Paul inserted Jesus into confessions of the oneness of God, reshaping the Jewish Shema into a confession of the Trinity, 1 Corinthians 8:6. The coming of the new world of the kingdom meant the coming of a new vocabulary, and to be a Christian means to make this vocabulary one's own. All right. So what do you think about that? All right.
Yeah.
I think that's an explanation of the previous section
Mhm.
of what he meant, that it wasn't Jacobin, it wasn't revolutionary, the things that Jesus was doing, nor the apostles were doing.
Yeah.
They were inhabiting the same reality.
I'm just really conscious of the fact that, like, if you take someone like Tim Keller,
Mm-hmm.
they'll say things like, or like, who's the David French, but who's the Russell Moore?
Russell Moore.
You take people like them, and their whole thing is, you love America, you love your history and your heritage. Those are idols. You're actually not even to think of yourself as an American.
That's
but rather
idolatry.
as just a Christian.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that, like, some of this can be used by the left.
Yes.
To rip you away from your own heritage and history.
Yes.
And so sometimes this kind of stuff comes across like that. And
It can be employed that way. It certainly could be. I mean, if Russell Moore read that little snippet,
Mm-hmm.
Brady would say, "Yeah, I agree. Let's go." And of course, that's not what it means.
Or like how do they use the verse, neither Jew nor Gentile?
Yeah, Galatians 3:28. Yeah,
you're not an American. You're a Christian.
And you're neither Jew nor Greek, male nor female. All right, slave nor free. Right. None of these things matter at all.
Exactly. And so I do have, I like to be careful with that kind of language.
Oh, I think that's a valid critique, and I think it matters. But I think again, like actual biblical Christianity in this manner, it would allow you to actually truly be American or French or British or German, right? And it would restore these things when the actual idolatry is the thing destroying them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's part of it is a rejection of God's order that he has made. That he has made nations, and that you don't have to apologize for having affection for your particular nation. Right. That's part of the thing that needs to be challenged and confronted when biblical Christianity comes in. Right. That's what it does.
Sure. But you're adding to the argument here, because he doesn't say anything.
He doesn't say that. I know, but I'm applying what he's saying to our context and situation. All right, go ahead.
Probably.
We're almost. Oh, how much do we have left?
We're halfway, right there.
We're halfway. All right. You want to save? You want to
Don't say it.
I'm not going to say. Let's keep going.
No, what you're going to say is we can make it through the rest of the book.
No, we can't. I have to get going. I have to get going here. It's 3:00. Any last thoughts?
Well, we can read 18. For the Saxons, the oak of Thor was wholly taboo and threatening. Boniface called it kindling.
Yeah, that's good. That's a great place to end. Yeah. I like that. I like that so much. That's wonderful. Yeah, I think this chapter, if we're to summarize it as a whole, it is really profound to think of these things in these categories. These are not often categories we think in.
Yeah.
In terms of mythos or poetic religion, civic religion, and so forth. We don't operate in these terms always, or rarely. And it really is a confrontation of our own mode of being within the evangelicalism.
Yeah.
That we think we can just be sequestered off in the corner and be unchallenging and unthreatening. I mean, that really is what regime evangelicalism is.
Mm-hmm.
It delights in its own marginalization.
Yeah.
Right. That's the entire point.
Yeah.
Is to be non-threatening to the regime, right? To be non-threatening to the culture. Mm-hmm. And when you have a culture and a society that is so messed up, the very existence of biblical Christianity is a challenge to it.
Yeah.
That's the point. And maybe, just maybe, we're recovering that in America. That's the hope.
Yeah,
that's the hope. Any final thoughts?
No, not really. I mean, like, I guess one more thing is about American myths and stuff. It's important to remember that part of the American mythos is actually an expansion of Christendom.
That's right.
Against the myths of the indigenous people.
Yeah.
They're false myths, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like the church needs to come in and eliminate American mythos. Well, actually, American mythos was the continuation of the Christian project. So that's the thing that needs to happen now is,
and it's directly confrontational to the third worldist mythos, right? Where it's like, yeah, we did that and we don't care, right? We're not going to apologize for it. Too bad. Yeah, Westerners colonized the third world, and we made everyone's lives better overall and brought Christianity there. Yeah, we're not going to apologize for that.
Colonialism was actually the expansion of Christendom. You're not supposed to say that
into foreign lands where it had never gone before. Yeah, you're not supposed to say that, but
or at the very least, it was a tool that God used.
Yeah. I mean, there are millions of people in and from the third world that will be in glory only because a bunch of British guys with guns went there. Right. That's a nice controversial point to end on.
That's true. I mean,
it's true though. Yeah.
And all of Christendom.
Take that, Russell Moore.
All of Christendom was like that.
Yeah.
I mean, from Constantine through the Crusades to the expansion of Europe and the Anglo-Spanish struggle in the Americas. It's all part of
I mean, that's part of the
same story.
That's part of the story. I mean, the last part, 18 was St. Boniface. Right. Boniface was able to do that because the Carolingian kings were going in and fighting in these places and pacifying these places. Right. He's able to go there because there's already been a bunch of war, and they've already torn down like Charlemagne went in and tore down all of their idols.
Yeah.
And so, and what they did is showed that their gods were powerless. Their gods did not have any power, and the gods of the prevailing mythos are dying and shown to be powerless. And that is, so it's incumbent upon the church to show that our God is the powerful one, right? Our God is the one with all the power, that our God, the God man, Jesus Christ, is reigning right now over heaven and earth. He is. Like, that is a reality. And he laughs, right? He who sits in the heavens laughs, and he's laughing at you, right? He got a good laugh at Joe Biden, I'm sure. But he's laughing at the American regime, right? He's laughing at the regimes of the world. He's laughing at Xi Jinping, right? You think you can conquer the world? You think these computers you make with AI are going to change the created order that I've made? He laughs. He laughs at that. All right, that's the message we should preach, and we don't. So,
all right,
but we will.
All right,
we will. All right, you have something, Gary?
Yeah, here is a closing thought. So,
closing thoughts with Gary. New segment on Confrontation.
Close to Thanksgiving, right? We should do something similar to this topic. It's way too easy to, like, the live in-laws, cousins, whatever. TV, tired, boring. We all know there's going to be tension there. We should have a topic like this that we can bring up with, like, our big Eva boomer, family members. Stir the pot.
Gary wants to fight.
like turn the tides, get some good tidbits. That'd be
We've been talking about doing a Puritan, in defense of the early pilgrims.
Yeah, we do need to do that. And
just be fun.
And it is annoying. Every Thanksgiving now we get lectured.
We get lectured, and we have to do land acknowledgments, basically. Yeah.
Like some good ammunition right before we go see the family and be like, "Hey, your church is."
I mean, we're going to do a land acknowledgement at Thanksgiving. That, we are occupying territory that rightfully belongs to the Confederate state of Tennessee. Or am I not supposed to do those land acknowledgments? Is that
no?
You're not allowed? Only the Wampa Trompanoag tribe or whatever. We won't go any further than that. Gary's trying to get me clipped even more. And we're not going to do a Confederate land acknowledgement. I was
No.
just joking. We're not going to do that. It was a joke. That was a bit. Just in case anyone wanted to know. Not Canadian. Yeah, I am a Yankee though, I guess. So
Not really.
no. We came here after the war, man.
Straight.
Oh yeah, what,
Yeah.
what side did the Iskers fight for?
Yeah, it's like don't look that up. Don't look that up. It's not gonna find anything. So that's why I don't comment on the Civil War. Keep my mouth shut. No comment. That's what I say about it. Anyway, yeah. BJJ wins again. The human sacrifices will cease. You're welcome. Yeah, like I mean, we could do an entire episode just on Cortez.
We could.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, like another children's book that should be made. Cortez
Oh,
and the
yeah.
Conquistadors. Man,
There's got to be one out
Yeah.
there. You've
maybe.
looked, you've
Maybe.
looked.
I've looked. Can't find it. Maybe.
All right, we got to go.
All right, we do have to go. It's 3:00. All right, everybody. This is going to be our live stream this week. I'm going to be traveling, so nothing on Friday, and then but Wednesday we have tomorrow. Yeah, it is tomorrow. I forget what day it is. Tomorrow we have what's coming out.
The Camp of the Saints interview with Ethan Rundle.
Rundell.
Rundell.
And Nathan
Nathan
Pekoski.
Pekoski.
Yeah. So that one really good. Really discusses that book. And it will be available to whom?
20 minutes for everybody.
Yeah, you get
An
the
hour
first
and a
20
half
minutes.
for the premium subscribers.
That's right. We made sure the first 20 minutes was really boring. We didn't get to the meat of everything till later. That's a secret in the business that we've learned. Right. You keep the juicy stuff till later. So no, subscribe, check that out. It was really good.
Mhm.
And if you're interested in that book, that banned book, I suggest you buy a whole bunch of copies and stick them in the Barnes and Noble banned book section. Just for fun. Take some pictures, tweet about it. That'd be hilarious.
Handmaid's Tale and
Yeah, next to the Handmaid's Tale and Hunger Games.
1984,
and-
yeah.
Killing Mockingbird.
yeah.
All these banned books.
All the banned books that anybody can get at any time, and they assign them to children in school. Put a real banned book there. And so great discussion on that book and what it's actually about, that it isn't what people think that it is. It really good discussion. So go check that out tomorrow. And until then, we'll see you next week. Stay peacefully dangerous, and we will see you next time.